Hello, my name is Matthew, and earlier this morning I recorded a video about books that I own that I really would like to get to reading next year. We're getting towards the end of 2025, and reflecting and also looking forward. And I don't really like having books on my shelves that I haven't read. And I made a video of the very small proportion of books I haven't read that I really would like to get around to reading. But since then, I started thinking about the books I want to reread next year. So, books that I've read once or maybe have been quite familiar with, um, but maybe it's been some time or some other reason, and I want to read it again. And so I grabbed a handful of books, a stack of books here that I would like to show and talk about, and hopefully um, read in 2026, maybe. And I'll start with Tolstoy. At the moment, I'm reading Anna Karenina, and I love Tolstoy. I've had my channel now for 7, 8 years, something like that, and I very rarely talk about Tolstoy because it's been over a decade, or around a decade, since I've read the big books, Anna Karenina and War and Peace and Resurrection. I think I made a video about the Cossacks, which I have read in the past couple years, which I love, but I really love almost everything by Tolstoy. And right now I'm reading Anna Karenina, and it's such a joy. At the moment, I'm reading these wonderful pastoral episodes in the countryside with Levin, the character Levin, and the peasants, and it's so wonderful. And it really is kind of striking a match and making me, not immediately, but next year, reading War and Peace. I grabbed, what translation is this? Translated by Louis and Almer Maud. I've read the Peter Volonkonsky translation of War and Peace, and it's probably my least favorite translation effort by Peter and Volonkonsky. Right now, it's not the appropriate time to get into it, but the huge passages of French with the footnotes, I found distracting, bordering on obnoxious. I understand that it's closer to the original, but it really pulled me out of the book in a way that I didn't like. So I might read this one. I don't know if I have another translation, but War and Peace. I'm gonna go with Flaubert. So as I've had this channel and making these videos and plugging along, reading all of the things that I love, and also being mindful of what I'm capturing on camera. Flaubert is one of my favorite writers, and I've made a video on Madame Bovary and sentimental education recently. This past year, November, I think a handful of the short stories. One of my favorite, and I still have a few to go. So Salambo and the Last Temptation of Saint Anthony. But one of my favorite books is his last incomplete comedic novel, Bouvard and Picochet. And I grabbed this edition. It's been a little bit since I've read this. I think around 7, 8 years. It is incomplete, but it's vast and interesting and hilarious. It's a buddy comedy of sorts, and I would like to make. I'd like to read and make a video of everything by every major work by Flaubert. So I would like to get to this. A similar vein, I have a couple other things like that. I couldn't find my paperback copy, um, which is irrelevant because I have it as an e-copy, and I don't know if that'll show, but Buddenbrooks by Thomas Mann, and kind of a similar vein. It's been a long time since I've read Buddenbrooks. It's a chronicle of generations of a family in decline, 20th century Germany. But I've made several videos on the Magic Mountain and Dr. Faustus. I had a failed attempt with Joseph and his brothers, which might be a longer project. But Buddenbrooks is Thomas Mann's first novel. He got into a bit of trouble because like neighbors and family members were clearly recognizable in his description. He was so young and so mature and so brilliant. I'm really looking forward to revisiting Buddenbrooks by Thomas Mann. And again, I like the idea of my favorite writers being able to have a representational video collection of their great works and the things that they've made. Put that down. And what do we have? Back to a Russian, Dead Souls by Gogol. And I picked up my favorite translation. I've read this book several times. I absolutely adore Dead Souls, at least part one. This is translated by Donald Rayfield. For my money, it is the superior translation, and it's an NYRB classic. Terrific cover. It's about a strange man that shows up into the Russian countryside where they have serfs during the serfdom, and the landowners are taxed on the serfs that they have on their property, but they're taxed on the last census that had been taken, and sometimes long stretches of time would go by between censuses, and so you'll have serfs that have died but that you are paying taxes on. And he has this scheme, this strange stranger that shows up, and we get this like wide array of characters that we're introduced to, where our character, what is his name? Chikakov, meeting landowners and saying, I want to buy the dead ones. The dead people that you pay taxes on, I want to buy them from you. And it's so absurd and so bewildering to the landowners that you get these absolutely hilarious interactions. I think Gogol is one of my favorite Russian writers. It's unfortunate we really only have Dead Souls as a major piece of a major novel, but we have short stories and plays as well. Let's see. The Idiot. So I just talked about this, but next year, June or July, there's going to be a new translation of The Idiot by Michael Katz. Every translation that I've read by Michael Katz, I think, is terrific, really good, and probably the translation that I would most easily recommend to someone interested in Dostoevsky, at least. My favorite translator, as a personal sentiment, is by Ignat Avesy, and I'm looking forward to reading the Michael Katz translation of The Idiot, but I'm really compelled to reread the Ignat Avesy translation at some point before the Michael Katz translation, to just have a refresh in context and to have those eyes of what might be a little different. Um, and it's funny, The Idiot is one of the books that I read really early on, one of my very first handful of videos on my channel, so it's like 7, 8 years ago. And The Idiot is my personal highest viewed video, and it was like right now as I'm talking like 30,000 views or something strange. Um, and I like the idea of revisiting and making a new video where I'm much more comfortable in front of the camera, maybe a little bit more knowledgeable with different things that I've read, and reading the book again. So this is a personal thing, but I want to reread The Painter's Muse by Emily Arendts. A beautiful book. This is a contemporary Belgian writer writing in English, and she's a friend of mine. She has a new book coming out next spring, March, I believe. It's called Evil Uprooted, and very similar to what I was talking about with a new translation. Um, Emily has a new book coming out, and I'd like to read The Painter's Muse, which I highly recommend. She's a friend of mine, but it's a really good contemporary book. Before her new book comes out, just to kind of be interested and see if there's growth or differences or similarities, things like that. I do that with a lot of the things that I read. And I have two, I think everything else is American. Jonathan Safran Foer is an author that I read very early on in my reading journey, 18, 19, 20 years old. At the time, still is a very much a contemporary writer. And reading, everything is illuminated and extremely loud and incredibly close. At the time, they were so inventive and surprising. There was visual elements that were unusual to me. They were successful critical darlings. That's why I even knew about them. But I really liked those books. And then he's I would say not necessarily a prolific writer. I should maybe do a little bit more research. But I have Here I Am, and I read this when it came out, which would have been 2016, so basically 10 years ago. And it was a mature book. It's a family tragedy type of book. And I remember not liking it as much as his two previous novels. Everything is illuminated. And I'm really interested in going back to it because I think I found the book uneven, and I think that the book is mature. And 10 years have passed for me now, and I feel like I'm a little bit more mature, just a little bit more. And I want to read Jonathan Safran Foer again. This is the only one that I have. I love the title. It goes back to, I think, Abraham. God says, "Where are you?" And he says, "Here I am." And what I love about that is I have nieces. I have little girls, like 4 years old and 6 years old, and it's something that they say. It just sounds like very natural and very childlike. Where are you? Here I am. I love it. Um, John Dos Passos. So the USA trilogy, which is the 42nd Parallel, 1919, and The Big Money. I've read them all separately, separate novels. This is a wonderful book, big floppy, really great paperback of all three novels together. Um, it's almost kind of surprising to me. I don't hear about John Dos Passos that often, um, especially since I think the USA trilogy is a really strong contender for the argument of the great American novel, especially if you kind of splice it into um, centuries or generations. It's been a long time since I read through this. It is more um, it's easier to read it in the three kind of smaller books than this, but it does feel really good in the hand. And it's sort of like a sprawling journey through the history of America at the time. And I was thinking about this in particular because I'm reading Anna Karenina. I'm also reading 2666 by Roberto Bolaño, which is a 21st century novel that feels very worldly and international, and you really kind of all over the map. And when I think about other kind of American novels like The Great Gatsby, or I don't know if On the Road is in the conversation, but this was a book that feels like an epic. It's a grand book. I would like to experience it again. And I'll end on kind of a bittersweet note. I didn't plan on what I was picking up first, but I have the Border trilogy, so another, by coincidence, another trilogy of books. But the Border trilogy by Cormac McCarthy, which is All the Pretty Horses, The Crossing, and Cities of the Plain, is a beautiful, handsome, Everyman's Library edition. When I read it, I'll take the dust jacket off. Again, it's the three books kind of put together in one. You have a beautiful ribbon, American, Western styling. And I want to read it again because it's been a long time, well over a decade, since I've read these books. And it's been a while since I've read Cormac McCarthy in general. And he's a fan favorite. I mean, everyone loves Cormac McCarthy. He's like a critical darling in that vein. My personal opinion is I've been surprised by that reaction. When I read Cormac McCarthy, I'm very much left with much to be desired, and I want to revisit and kind of give another critical assessment. I remember thinking that they were okay. It's not like I thought it was a horrible, atrocious, any of his books that I've read experience, but not nearly to the heights of the brilliant word choice, and he's like on the top of Mount Olympia, and all that crazy, like hyper overpraise. I've never seen it on the page, and I just want to revisit it. I'm sure I'll have a different reaction than the last time that I read it. I'm hoping that I like it even more, or like it more. And so, just a handful of books that I would like to read next year. Of course, I made a video about Thomas Pynchon, which I'm not going to go through. I want to read all those books next year. I typically read The Odyssey and Iliad annually. There's some Truman Capote books that I read annually, but just specific new things that have been on my mind. So let me know if you've read any of these books or if you've been interested in rereading them again, or any thoughts or anything like that. There's sirens outside that you might hear. So thank you for watching. Please leave a comment if you would like, and thank you and take care. Bye.